most of the MSP owners that I know end up doing sales because they have to do sales because they can't find anybody else to do sales. And so, a lot of times those MSP owners, rather than transcending operations, they just
Right on, everyone. Well, welcome to the show, Cyber Confidential. In this episode, we have Gabe Schrade and Daryl Gleinser from Total Seminars joining us to talk about the challenge of increasing your technical capacity at MSPs, particularly small MSPs, because that's the nut that we like to chew on. Welcome, Gabe, Daryl, to the show.
All right. I started GCS Technologies back in 2001. I was a 20-year-old kid, didn't really know anything about starting a business. But over 20 years, I grew GCS into the largest managed services company in Central Texas. Sold it back in 2020. And since then have been doing security projects, started a new company doing pen testing, and have been building a training program for NOC technicians so that when you bring on a NOC technician into an MSP, you can very quickly bring them up to speed, get them technically up to speed, get them up to speed on logistics, on ticketing, on all the technologies they need to know, and then bring them up to an L2 position within 6 months.
Sweet. All right, and that's what we're going to keep going into. So, Gabe Schrade, thanks for joining us. Give us your little intro before we start chewing into this problem.
Thanks again, Mike. My name's Gabe Schrade. I'm the president of Total Seminars, a company that's been around since 1995. So 30 years of training. Many managed service professionals or techs may know the name Mike Myers. He's the guy that wrote the very first CompTIA A+ certification training book. He's the most watched IT instructor on Udemy for many CompTIA trainings. So Total Seminars has this legacy of training techs. And what we've found internally is that techs need more than just a vendor-specific certification. There's more to a productivity in today's world than a specific vendor certification to test knowledge. So my background's in private equity. So I've done and led deals in blue-collar industries, hundreds of millions of dollars of capital I've led and raised to do deals. We've done a similar project in this technology training space. And like any good company, we look for good people and partners. And so as we've gotten to know MSPs, we've developed relationships in this space. And one of those relationships is Daryl, who has done everything that an MSP founder owner would want to do. Founded, grew it, scaled it, sold it. And so with our combined private equity experience, with Total Seminars' legacy of training, and with Daryl's program that he's built and shaped and led, we've been really excited to have conversations about all of the problems that this solves, how Daryl solved them in his personal use case, and how we're bringing the institutional capital and process of private equity to give it to the entire MSP space.
All right, let's dive right into this. We met last week at the MSP Expo in Fort Lauderdale. Way warmer than it is right now in Toronto, where I got like 3 feet of snow outside of my house. Fortunately, I'm going to California tomorrow night, so I don't have to deal with the snow that long. Okay, we had a off-camera conversation at the expo, and you walked me through the challenges in the life of a small MSP that is over capacity right now and is thinking about adding more technical staff. So ConnectWise teaches us that like at least 80% of the MSP market is 10 employees or less, which is reflective of the entire small business market in the United States. Most small businesses are 10 employees or less. Same here in Canada. Talk us through the before after. What's life like before they hire the new person in their current environment? Like not with the Total Seminars gold package type thing, but talk us through their experience right now. What are they thinking when they're talking about hiring a new person?
Okay. So when you bring on a new knock tech at a MSP, you're bringing in somebody that has very little experience. They're, typically they might have up to a year experience on a knock, but very little technical experience, very little experience, maybe even on the phones. And so you're talking about a lot of training up front, and that training looks like, a few things. One is technical. They need to get better technically so that you can move them up within your organization. Two is basic policies and processes. Every business has their own policies, their own processes that have to be followed. And three is their skills in customer service. So taking a phone call, transferring a phone call, basic etiquette, not being rude on the phone to clients. These are people that are going to be on the front line, taking calls from your clients every day, and you have to make sure that they're going to properly they're going to be a good resource for your clients in that capacity. So typically you're going to put out ads, you're going to go through Indeed or all the other paths that you can go through there, or you're going to trust a recruiter. A lot of MSPs just go ahead and pay for it, and you end up paying about 50% of that employee's salary in order to bring them on as a new employee. And for higher end techs, that can be reasonable, but for lower end techs, knock techs, those kind of employees, you're talking about people that aren't necessarily going to make it in your organization. You're bringing on, maybe two for every one that you expect to last, and so those fees can get pretty high when you're basically paying two for one. And then you have training costs. So, the technical training is really being done by a senior technician in your organization. You're taking them off of the billable hour track. They should be 75% billable. If they're going to have to do training, they're maybe 50%, maybe 25%, depending on what their other responsibilities are. So you're losing billable hours there. You're losing money every day by having them come in and train. You have management resources that have to stop to teach policies and processes. Maybe even senior leadership to come in and teach about culture and things like that.
Right. Okay. So these are sort of like the basics that everyone would appreciate, and probably the managed service providers, like the business owner, has gone through this because they've gotten past the solo mark. So they've at least hired somebody. If they're in that 5 to 10 range, they've hired a few people. Do you see MSPs in that range actually paying recruiters, or are they just trying to, like, within the small network of people that they know in their small town, they find someone like from Best Buy, like they find an ex Best Buy worker? Where's the talent pool coming from for many of these MSPs?
I think in a lot of markets it depends. So it's one of the biggest problems that MSPs have overall, is being able to bring in new talent. Sometimes the market is healthy, and you have a lot of people coming out of Fortune 500s, either through layoffs or et cetera. And you can do an Indeed ad, and you might get 100 responses and have to filter through those and find the right person to bring on. But I would say probably 80% of the time, over the last 25 years, we've been in a market that is saturated with recruiters, right? I mean, there's if somebody's out of a job, they're finding one within days. And so in almost every case during those markets, you're having to go through a recruiter in order to find talent.
Okay. And you find this still the case for the small MSPs, like the market is saturated with recruiters.
Even more so in small MSPs. So big MSPs typically have they have more of a process to go through to find these employees. They have more of a group of other MSPs that they work with. They've got a bigger community that they can go out to and ask for help. With smaller MSPs, I mean, you have an owner that's probably working 60 hours a week, 40 on billable hours and 20 on managing a business. And so, that person is having to go find an employee and spend even extra time that week to go put into that search without maybe having that community to go into.
Yes. Okay. That paints the picture. Gabe, we're going to get you in here because I know you got some stories about the life that the MSP has in this situation. Like before they get a new employee? Like, talk us about the life before the trigger.
Sure.
They're over capacity. They're dealing with stuff. And Daryl pointed at something good there. Like, the business owner is probably working way more than 40 hours and doing a lot of administrative tasks. And that's what's getting them into this mindset to at least think about hiring someone else. Talk about that story.
That's I think even broader than just MSPs. Any person that founds a business, that starts a business, they want to. It's called the Great Escape. You have to be the business, but then in order to get to your destination where it's big enough or valuable enough to be sold, or for you to be able to be separated from it, to work what they call on the business instead of in the business, you have to build a team. It's like the universal thing that everybody knows that is super hard to do. So if you're talking about a company of 10 or less people, and if you say have 5 people and bring on a 6th, as the founder, owner, operator, you're responsible for so much of that business. Like Daryl said, 60 hours a week, 40 on billables, 20 on managing the business. And the pain is in seeing where you have to go as a business owner and knowing that in the short term, you've got to do all of this extra work to find the right person. And then there's 3, 6, 9. Daryl would say the average is 12 months of training and then mentorship to get that new hire into your program and productive at 75%. So 30 hours of a 40-hour working week in your program. And so who's going to do that? It's not easy to delegate it to your team. You have great team. Maybe you've got technicians that are, mid-level, maybe some senior level, and they're billing. You were the first to bill. You brought on that good help. Now they're billing. Are you going to turn those professionals into trainers? They're professional technicians. There's a hard opportunity cost there. There's burnout there. There's salary renegotiations that happen when you ask more and different things of that small team. And so what most owner operators do is they try and shoulder it themselves, take it on themselves. And that's not the highest and best use of that owner and operator's time. What is the highest and best use is to do the thing that no one else can do, which is to generate business. It's to run the business. It's to work on the business. But in this position, which is a difficult position, you mentioned that the 80% of the businesses are in this position. Adding that 6th person to your team, it's more than 15% of your team. It's a major change in your company. It takes major work, and it will fall apart without someone that has the presence, the perspective, and the program that owner knows has to be delivered. And we see in the market is we see video training certification programs for vendor certs that teach 1 or 2 knowledge competencies. But what we're bringing here is an owner. And Daryl, someone who did it, founded it, and then transcended that space that's so difficult, rebuilt teams to come in an online live instruction like we are here and train and mentor and show and convey all of that responsibility and ownership mentality and technical competency that as an owner, you feel like you can't replace yourself. Now you can.
Yeah, your comment about working on the business instead of in the business is probably, like one of the number one cliches that entrepreneurs hear. It's a huge gap to jump from one to the other. It's so much more easily said than done. I'm struggling through this right now. Sounds like one of those areas where you could exchange money for more time and capacity, like which is the promised land to get to the working on the business part than in the business. Because what I hear from your story of the problem here, Gabe, is that if you're a small MSP, you got, let's say you're 5 people total, you and 4 technicians, and that's how you're running the business right now. And the business owner is doing all the admin work. So you have 4 technicians. If you're thinking about hiring, it's because you're over capacity right now. You've probably been pushing the boundaries, and because that's the grind, and you're asking all your employees to hustle with you. So you're over capacity. You're thinking about adding another technician. That's going to increase your technical capacity by 25%, which is huge.
Yeah.
But the compromise, the trade-off that I heard from your story is that if you're relying on one of your existing technicians to train the new person, forget about all of the effort that has to go in from the business owner to find and hire and filter through applicants. If you're just relying on one of your technicians to train, you were over capacity with 4 people. You're taking one of those people out to now be a trainer, even if it's 30% of their time. Now you're way over capacity. So all your other technicians are going to be stretched even thinner. And you're making that as a leap of faith investment that the new person is going to be able to pick up the material. The technician is going to be able to train them well enough, and the new person is going to stay on, which is an inherent risk in hiring anyone. We shouldn't hold that against anyone, but that's the recipe of stress that the business owner is going through right now. Like they're thinking, if I got to hire someone, no, I got this big project coming up. I can't take one of my technicians off it. Okay, we'll hire someone later. And they just keep doing that little leapfrog thing until it's been 12 months of being over capacity. All your employees are stressed way past maximum. You still haven't hired anyone. That's the kind of mindset that triggers someone to think, okay, I got to do it now. What help can I get to hire an onboard? Now, you're not doing any of the recruiting, right? You're just doing onboarding. Okay, so this question then is to Daryl. Let's say the business owner gets to that point. You're talking to a managed service provider. All of their elastic bands are stretched so far they got no elasticity anymore. You can tell the technicians are way over capacity, and they think, okay, my number one technician, I can't afford to take them off for the next project, but we got to hire someone. So they find someone, it's an ex Best Buy worker. They got some technical savvy, and they come to you saying, Daryl, how do we get this person up to speed? What do you do?
Yeah, and so I would say even at that 5, 6, 7 person mark, you're, as a business owner, you're not even focused on looking at it from a high level and saying, I really need this person to come on. I really need to, I need to worry about what it's going to take off my team to train them. You're just saying, we might not even have time to train them. I just need a person. I'm going to plug somebody in and hope it works out. I think that's probably more common in that situation than otherwise. Is that you end up getting a technician that comes in, you have all these plans on training them, and you end up spending 3 hours one morning talking to them about the business, and you walk away and really hope they're going to work out, because if they don't, that's a huge cost to the business, to lose them and have to do this whole process over again. But there's no capacity for training at that point, and so it is what it is. And so where we can come in is we come in from the same background. I grew a company from 0 employees to over 50 technicians, and built systems along the way that made that easier, built training along the way that made that easier, built processes that can take those technicians and bring them along faster than otherwise. So where we come in is we take that 25 years of training experience of building a NOC tech up to an L2 tech. That's really what we focus on there. L2 techs are the lifeblood of an MSP. It's going to be where most of your business is done. So we bring that NOC tech in. We give them the skills that they need. So we're talking, we talk to them about careers. We talk to them about career advancement, where there is to go from here. We talk to them about basic MSP tools, RMM tools, ticketing, automation, BDR, documentation, CRM, all the different things that they're going to be touching on a daily basis. We go through the basics of that with them, how to use those tools, what they're used for in an MSP. We go through phone and communication skills and etiquette, which is one of the bigger deals, because that technician that's talking to your clients has the ability to turn them off. It has the ability, I mean, one rude comment, one bad day, not smiling on the phone while you're talking, and that customer has a dozen other options in town to go to. They're not going to put up with it. They're not going to give you a second chance. They're just going to go. They might not even tell you about it. So we really want them to learn those phone communication skills. And, even I've seen hires. We had a hire at GCS years ago, that the poor guy got on the phone and he sounded like Mickey Mouse on the phone. And so we had to find another position for him that was reasonable and take him off the phones completely, because our customers weren't taking us seriously because of the way that somebody sounded on the phone. And he sounded fine in person. It was not really something we could have seen. But we go through those phone communication skills. We hear these people on the phone, so that we can talk to you if there's an issue ahead of time. We go through ticket queue management. So, one of the more common jobs of a knock technician is going through your entire ticket queue and finding tickets that haven't been touched recently. Just searching for things that they can do within that queue, to take the work off of higher end technicians. We go through triage, escalation, incident response, emergency response processes, just the day-to-day processes that they're going to have to follow within a knock to keep up, to make those customers happy. And then we start going into how to move them up to an L2 position. And so really what we see out of a knock technician is, one, they need the confidence to take tickets they've never worked on before, because they're not going to have seen this before. They don't have any experience. And we're not going to be able to show them every one of the 10,000 tickets that might possibly come across their desk every day. So what we do is we teach them the troubleshooting process. We teach them how to get started, how to go look at logs, how to get error messages from customers. And that really comes from two fronts. One of those is that technician is going to be, again, the first line, the first person to talk to that client. He's going to have the chance to go get all of the information that L2 technician is going to need to solve the problem. And so if they know how to ask questions, if they know how to look at logs, if they know how to dig in a little bit, they can take a bunch of notes within that ticket prior to sending it uphill, and take, maybe an hour of time off of that technician's plate, that L2 technician's plate, in being able to fix that problem.
So this is a lot more than just a CompTIA certification, which is what Gabe and I were talking about at the expo. Like, you're talking about on-the-job training specifically for the managed service provider environment. This is not like an unsupervised asynchronous certification that the new hire would just research on their own. You're taking them through real work experiences and showing them how to react in those work experiences.
I love certifications. I love that people go to college and have that experience and learn things there. I've never had a technician come to me that had a certification and knew how to do the things that certification was for. I've never had a technician or any employee come out of college and know how to do that job, because they went to college. They don't teach them how to do the jobs. The certifications don't teach them how to work on a specific piece of technology. They just give them a little bit of background. And I think any MSP owner will tell you the same thing. Some people are really good at taking tests and not really good at learning information. And so what you end up with is a technician that is massively overqualified from a certification standpoint or a college standpoint, and has no idea how to do the job. And so what our training focuses on is the actual day-to-day things that knock technician will be doing, and the technologies that they're going to need to know both in the knock and to move up to the L2 position.
Right on. Okay, let's keep going into the brass tacks here. So at this point, I'm sure there's some MSPs listening saying, "Yeah, that's me. I have 4 technicians. Everyone's working way more than 40 hours. Emotionally, they're taxed. I need someone." The audience knows that they gotta find them because you're not doing recruiting, which is cool. So they got to find them, but they bring to you someone that has some basic technical competency, at least an affinity for computers. Can you take them from that point and bring them up to speed to be how would you quantify like good enough to just start rolling in the job? What's the term you'd use?
So really confident is the term I'd use. Really, what makes the difference between an L1 knock tech who's just taking phone calls, putting in tickets, and an L2 tech who's taking tickets every day and working through them is the confidence to say that I can do this. And so a lot of what we do is build up that confidence by showing them the things that they're going to see, by showing them the processes to follow to fix these problems. And then by going through real tickets with them. We want them to go troubleshoot real tickets before they ever have to do it in person. So it's all about building up that confidence in that technician to say, I know I can fix that problem. I just need to go get started and start researching and figuring it out. And that's 100% of the difference between knock tech and L2 is the confidence to say, I'm just going to get started.
Can you, Daryl, you mentioned an example about a common L1.5 or L2 ticket that no L1 would have the confidence to do because they haven't opened Microsoft Azure. And can you talk about that use case and how what our program does, 3 weeks dedicated to Microsoft 365 operations, 3 weeks dedicated to Microsoft Azure with these labs. Can you talk about what that exposure and then the actual button clicking that our techs will be doing can actually systematically build the confidence to have that tangible business benefit where now as your ticket comes through, it might be a password reset, but I have the confidence to go into that system and get the job done.
Yeah, so as part of our training program, we have a Q&A session every week with the technicians that are part of that training program. And what we tell them is, the best use of that time is bring me a ticket that you have to work on. Let me go through it so everybody can see the process to fix that problem, that can see it, the thinking behind that goes into figuring out, first steps, last steps. And one of the most common tickets brought to me every single training class is changing geolocation security settings. So there's a common security setting that automatically says if you're in the United States and working in the United States, you probably shouldn't be logging in from Mexico or Eastern Europe. Pretty common security thing. We don't want somebody logging into your account from one of these countries that could be hostile and doing damage. And so we just block it all off. Unless you're going to that country for some reason, there's no reason that you should be logging in from there. And so it's a very easy ticket. Almost any knock tech has the ability to fix it, but maybe not the confidence. And so what we do is we bring it through and we show everybody the exact steps to go through to fix that problem. As a new knock tech, you've never seen the Azure portal. You've never seen anything with identity and access management. You've probably never done a password reset until you've started on the job. And so we log them into Azure and we show them the portal. We go through the geolocation setting for them to, say one of their clients is going on vacation to France. So we need to go in and we need to set up a basic setting that says this client is allowed to log in from France for the next 2 weeks because they're going to be in France for 2 weeks. And then we automatically want to disable that setting. Whole process takes about 10 seconds. It's a very easy setting to do. But because the technician has never seen an Azure portal, doesn't know what geolocation is, doesn't know, very much about security in general, they're not going to have the confidence to take that first step and start searching for a solution. And so we have them bring those into Q&As where all of the techs in the that are part of our training program at the time are in that same Q&A, and we can walk them through that ticket.
As an avid Azure frustrated user, I can attest that knowing that you have to reset someone's password and having the confidence to do it as a billable hour are two very different things. Because 2 weeks ago, I was on the road and I had a billing issue with Azure where I wanted to change my subscription, and I had to actually call the Microsoft support team. They Teams called me and they made me go through a whole screen recording thing. and I just wanted to change my subscription level. So like, because I have no training, like I'm just a subscriber of Microsoft. But if I had to do this as a job, that's the big difference between knowing like the instructions from Microsoft and having the hands-on experience in a coached environment to be able to do it like clockwork when someone needs me to.
And it's really, I mean, that's why all of our training is focused around building that confidence, right? If you've seen the Azure portal before, you're going to have the confidence to log into it again. If you've seen the section on security and setting these custom security options, you might be, even if it's not a geolocation setting, if it's something different next time, but you've seen that section, well, you have the confidence to go into that section and start looking around a little bit. And so by step by step building that confidence, by showing them the technologies and having them hands on build these environments, it just gives them the confidence down the road to start taking harder and harder and harder tickets. And then as they start taking harder and harder and harder tickets, maybe they run into a problem and they bring it to us. We show them how to fix that one. And now they've got that knowledge for the future. And that's really, when we talk about L1, L2, and L3, L1 and L2 is 100% confidence based. It's just, do you have the confidence to take on a ticket you've never seen before? And then that jump from L2 to L3 is, I've seen these tickets. I've seen all 10,000 tickets that might be coming across my desk. I've fixed them before and I know how to fix them again. So that's really what we look at in those levels.
Sweet. Okay, Gabe, jump in on this and talk us through. Let's say you're talking to a managed service provider. They come to you. They mentally in their mind, they say, I don't want to tax my own employees to onboard someone. I buy into the idea. I want to trust someone else to do the onboarding to get them from just hired to ready to rumble. What's the process with you? And give us like some ballpark figures so we know what it would cost if they did it themselves, both in actual cash and time and opportunities lost, and what your package is. Like, you don't have to tell the exact .999, but give us like how they should think about the pricing so that they can see an apples to apples comparison.
So one of the things that private equity people do is we calculate things. And so one of the calculations that we've made that actually, Daryl, your organization, GCS, had done before we did it, is to calculate that when a level 2 tech leaves, which happens inevitably, right? You have some churn, but a lot of times it's going to other MSPs. If you do not have a NOC tech that's ready to assume that role, and you have to do the recruiting, do the onboarding, do the training, potentially churn out that person, it is a minimum cost of $50,000. People don't think about it that way until you start doing the math. I'm taking this person who's billing out at $140 an hour, or maybe that's just like the way that you internally for your contracts, that's the average billable hour for your techs, $140 an hour. Taking that person off, applying them to do something they are not a professional at, which is training, on all the other soft costs that are baked into that $50,000 in revenue opportunity. You have lower utilization, you have higher burnout, you have lower morale. It's like musical chairs. So what we do is we can bring in a organized, professionalized system. And here's the key about the system. Number one, it's 12 weeks long. It's 12 weeks of training. There are 4 modules. Each module is 3 weeks. The first module is NOC operations. That's what Daryl's talking about with like basic customer etiquette. It's also career planning. Hey, NOC tech, here's why you want to advance. Here's what you can do and be in this career in technology. Hey, NOC tech, if you're going to be fired in IT, here's all the potential reasons why you could be fired. Don't do these things. It's very career foundations oriented. That's the first module, NOC operations. The second one is systems and security, which also, by the way, includes a full week of cybersecurity, which is one of the things that Daryl mentioned. If you don't train that new hire, then they're definitely not getting security training. And if you have an internal training program and 1 week John does the training and the next time you do the onboarding, Peter does the training, the probability that they're working from the same sheet of music or they're delivering it in the same way, very low. And the risk there is, of course, security gaps, breaches, and loss. So the second one is just the basic systems and security. So now we're at 6 weeks. 3 weeks, NOC operations, that's module 1. The following 3 weeks, systems and security, that's module 2. And then my favorite part from, again, like the reporting and the visibility and the assessments part is that third module and fourth module. The third module, all about Microsoft 365 operations, and it includes a lab. It includes a lab where they're in a trial Microsoft 365 environment, actually clicking buttons, doing things so they've done it before. Then the final 3 weeks, that's module 4, it's Azure operations. Daryl talked about how enabling it is to have seen it and done it before. The assessments, which are project-led, directed by Daryl himself, are pretty sophisticated in that techs are actually doing things on a server. They're configuring email. They're configuring some security settings. They're actually going to be pointing and clicking, doing the work. Not that they're going to come out as L3 techs, but they're going to have the confidence to come in and take those tickets and really leverage your other L2 and L3's time. This is a system, 12 weeks, and we offer it quarterly. Because if we were to offer it one time, that wouldn't do so much. You can't build a business around things that are not recurring. So what we do is we offer a quarterly start date. They're 12 weeks long. That means that you can, in any given quarter, you can rely on Daryl and the Total Seminars team having a start date, having an on-ramp for you to bring your new hires so that they can get standardized, hands-on training for those 12 weeks. And Daryl mentioned the weekly Q&A, which is also a live online training. That happens every week, all year round. And so what we're proud of is that we've got something that can grow with your business. We've got something that has 5 years of proven results, that we've got the actual creator of this program who knows the end from the beginning, who's transcended and made the journey, who loves techs, here delivering it with all of the resources of a 30-year company. And we have a recurring way in which we're delivering it. So all of that, $50,000 is what you should think about for when you lose a NOC tech and can't replace them. The program to enroll one person is $6,000. It's $6,000. You get accelerated time to utilization. You get higher security, higher systemization. And if that tech doesn't work out and you terminate that tech, you can apply the credit to a new tech. We're in it with you. We understand that the MSP space is about growing. We understand that reputation means everything. And we're here building from 30 years of a great reputation from Total Seminars and Daryl's 25 years of great reputation as a founder, grower, owner, seller, trainer in this space to say, this is a solution that we know makes sense for big MSPs and small MSPs alike. And we've got start dates happening now, in April, June, September. So these are opportunities for us to start working together today.
So $6,000, that's if we're using your 140 per hour technician rate, that's 40 hours equivalent, which seems like a reasonable trade. Like you're taking, instead of taking your technician off of being a technician and turning them into a trainer, you're just paying someone else whose professional job is training 40 hours, effectively 40 hours. What are the, that sounds like a no-brainer, but that's okay. You're not charging enough. So what would the new hire be doing? Is this a full-time 12-week program? Like if I was the business owner, I hire someone, I say, great, come for the first day. We're going to have lunch together. You learn everyone's names. From now on, you stay at home, and for 8 hours a day, you do the total seminars program.
Actually, great point to bring up. This is a Monday through Thursday, 2.5 hours, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday programs. It's 10 hours a week. It's 10 hours a week. We believe in symbiotic training, which is not just linear, like you read a book, you study, you take the test, and then you do the work. This is integrated. So you're doing some work during the day. Daryl's got some great use cases of knock techs, helping prepare computers, which are kind of hardware in nature, which are not quote unquote billable work for clients, is not taking tickets. While then you take 2.5 hours, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, live online to go through this program over 12 weeks. So
Okay,
again,
so you also give them some like good use case on how to deploy the new employee, because like if I was the business owner, I would just want to like exchange my money and get the results, because that's the trade-off you're offering me is I don't want to decrease my capacity. I want to give you the money. You take a brand new hire and bring them up to capacity, so I never go below. I always go above. If you can give me if you can also teach me how to deploy them in those onboarding 12 weeks without taxing my employees, that'd be a great system, because then I can like from day zero at least be neutral, because that's what I would fear. I fear being negative at capacity. But if you can show me hire this person, give them these tasks, which will keep them at least neutral capacity, and teach them, and then for the rest of the week they're doing our training, and at the end of 12 weeks you have a brand new technician full capacity, that's a good deal. I mean, $6,000 is nothing for that.
We don't even teach the technician, or we don't teach you how to deploy your technicians. We teach your technicians how to deploy themselves, right? And so by showing them the basic tasks that they should be accomplishing on a day-to-day basis, we're showing them what they should be doing tomorrow, right? When we teach them how to tear a computer down, how to build a computer up, we're teaching them that now when that ticket comes through to do that, that's what they should be doing as their job. And really that's where this comes together. I told you there's no certification out there that teaches somebody how to actually do the work based on that certification. But if we teach you today how to do a password reset, I now expect you at work tomorrow to be taking every ticket that says password reset. I expect you to be working through those tickets and getting that done and taking it off of a higher level person's plate. If I teach you how to change a geolocation setting, a security setting, now every ticket that comes in, I expect you to be doing that tomorrow. And so it's as they learn little techniques, little service ability, and as they get the confidence to take those tickets, they're going to be immediately putting that into practice the following day, the next day, while they're working in the knock. And so it's really it's symbiotic there. It's they get the confidence to do the ticket from us because we're teaching them how to do it. And then they get the actual real life under fire experience by being a knock technician already and doing that work on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, the one bonus conversation that I want to have is something that Gabe and I were scratching at live on location at the MSP Expo, which is the hidden value of consistency here, both for the MSP, but then also for another stakeholder. And this would be another larger managed service provider that's interested in like an acqui-hire, acquiring a smaller MSP to then absorb their capacity and their team, or the private equity led groups that we're hearing more and more these days that are looking to amalgamate many MSPs. If you have 40 different technicians that were all used to be part of 10 different MSPs or 5 to 10 different MSPs, they were all high trained individually by the best technician at their little pods. You have inconsistency in value delivery, which in this business is the services to the client. That's the value delivered. Tell me the story there, like both as one managed service provider maybe just wants to join up with a friend of theirs and become a group, or the private equity led group that is looking to acqui-hire. Tell us the story of the value consistency.
Yeah, absolutely. So, really what we look at over, from a real high level is the whole point of this entire system is to build a repeatable process. So it's to build a training process that repeats that over and over, that does get you that consistency. It gets you, the same training throughout the organization. But what we want is to build a bench of talent, so that if you do have the need to replace higher end talent, you can do it from within the organization. So, as you build that bench of talent and get the people trained on your knock, that you have those people ready to move up and into a position when you lose a higher level technician. And what that ends up being is a repeatable hiring and training process, that when you do a merger or an acquisition, you have that process already pre-built that increases the value of your organization. One, it increases the daily value of your organization, because you're not losing $50,000 when one tech walks away and you have to replace them. Two, when somebody's looking at you for an acquisition, they're seeing a repeatable process that fixes one of the biggest problems in the industry. So something most other MSPs don't have is a process that quickly replaces technicians when they're lost. And so that increases the value of your organization overall. If a private equity firm comes in and they're valuing your organization, having that problem fixed is huge from a value perspective.
Yeah, I can see that. And this ties back into Gabe's point before about working on the business rather than in the business. To be able to work on the business, you need systems that can work by themselves. So
Well,
at least then if you say, like, if we lose someone, no problem. Here's our system. Find anyone in our geographic area, or maybe your remote US, find anyone that can work remote in the United States that has these large pool of skills. That's your general intake. They used to work at Best Buy. I just keep using that because I've heard it a lot. And then put them through this 12-week program, and they'll come out the other side a great employee. That's a good system. That buys you a lot of time in your life.
I think what the main thing that PE people are looking for, and I can speak to this because we've done it, is the keyword is platform. Can you be a platform? And a platform is a business that is greater than the owner. Platforms have systems and processes. That's just what Daryl's saying. And if you can say, we check the box here, because you're going to get a list of 200 different things. How do you do these things? Because all PE people want to do is they want to be less involved and they want to make money. So can I just exchange dollars for dollars today for future cash flows in the future? And if you can check the box there, we have a system for this that's not key man dependent, then your platform score goes up. And so for every one of these kind of hairy problems that, Daryl, you let me know what your thoughts are, but what we see mostly are founder owners transcending the operations first. They'll still hold the relationships. Business development team is something that comes on later, but to on that journey, getting standardized operational processes, getting a way to continue to bring in people, plug them in for delivery, those things in my mental model of an MSP maturity into a platform, that has to happen. Maybe MSPs do it with one magical person for a time, but that's still key man risk, even though it's not the owner. So that's what this system is designed to really deliver.
You're taking top risks like employment capacity, human capital. This is a human capital business because it's a services business. And if any of them leave because they want to, or they get a better job or anything like that, which is human nature, you need to be able to de-risk that. And this is a great system. And this, we're not cracking the atom here. We're just talking about onboarding and upskilling. This is the relationship that makes it so that you can just give money and get results, which at every level of entrepreneurship, whether you're the PE firm that wants to put in cash and get more later, or you're the business owner right now that has a job working at their business. I'm looking straight into my own mirror right now and is trying to turn it into a business that you don't have to work in, right? So you're looking for opportunities to exchange money for time and capacity. this is an easy trade. All right,
Well, yeah.
final takeaways, Daryl. We're getting close to our time, so give it to us. What's your final takeaway here?
I think it's that as you grow as a business, especially in MSP, it's a hard business. You're not going to know how to do everything, right? Most of the MSP owners that I know end up doing sales because they have to do sales because they can't find anybody else to do sales. And so, a lot of times those MSP owners, rather than transcending operations, they just ignore operations. They find it easier to go get a bunch of new sales than they do trying to build up operations in order to limit the losses on that side. And what you end up is these, especially in the medium size MSP organizations, $10 million, $1 million of EBITDA, $2 million of EBITDA. You end up with these great sales teams that go out there and promise the world, and customers coming in and finding out it wasn't as good as they were told, and leaving. And you have this great sales team with great sales numbers, and your organization is doing okay because you have those great numbers. But if you really look at the back end, you're losing customers out the back like crazy. And so by having processes like this hiring and recruiting process and training process, you start limiting the losses on the back end. And that's when you see these MSPs skyrocket, because now they have that sales team pushing from the front, and they're not losing all the customers out the back end because they do have these good technicians that are well trained and can keep customers happy.
Yeah, totally. And I think another way of even looking at that is probably many of the audience here are not going to be in that position where they're overwhelming with sales. That's why they're listening to me. But the opposite way to look at that is this will at least take the onboarding technical part off your plate. So if you aren't in the Daryl promised land where you have way too much sales and underdoing it on operations, at least take the onboarding operations off your plate so you can focus more of your time on sales. And that ties back into Gabe's like working on the business that I'm in. Now we're looking at how the parts of our factory are operating and where we can just exchange time for or money for capacity. And this sounds like a great one. All right, gentlemen, I appreciate you joining. This has been a fun. It's touching me personally because I have no experience or no formal training hiring or onboarding people. I'm winging it. So I get lucky. I get lucky sometimes, and I really appreciate when I get lucky, and many times I don't.
Yeah.
And I feel that inadequacy because I don't know how to identify a good candidate. I don't. Like I've only been running a business for 9 years now, but it's at most maybe I've hit 20 employees, with a lot of them co-op students over the last little while, previous business included. So I don't know how to identify a good person. I know the consequences of not having a good person is a ton of lost time and a lost momentum. So if you have a system that I can take someone with general aptitude, which is easier to find than lived experience, take someone with general aptitude and exchange $6,000 to get them up to speed to be a consistently good level teammate. That's a no-brainer deal for me. That alleviates a lot of the pain, a lot of my time, and allows me to plan. With consistency, I can predict that 12 weeks from now, I'll have a great new team member that adds capacity. That's good. That de-risks a lot for running my business.
And I would say nobody's 100% on new hires, right? You're not going to get them all right, and we understand that as we go through these training processes. One of the things that we do is we evaluate your new employees very often on the skills that we're training them. So they, during this every week, they either have a test or a lab that's graded. So that we're sending real-time information back to you to make decisions on whether that employee is worth it or not, right? Are they worth keeping in a program that's a cost? Are they worth keeping in an organization where they could ruin a culture? That a single employee can ruin a culture if they're not a good fit.
Especially when you're talking about someone 5 to 10 employees, like this could be 16% of the entire company if
it's a
they're
large
the
percentage.
sixth person.
And so, one of the reasons we do a 3-month training course is because that really corresponds to a 90-day trial employment, right? A probationary employee. And so you have decisions to make in that first 90 days on whether they're going to work for your organization or not. And if they don't, and you need to let that employee go and bring another one in, we just give you your training back. So if you paid us the $6,000 for a training seat and that employee doesn't work out, you have another training seat ready to use for that next employee that comes in without paying for it. So we understand that this is it's not your hiring processes might not be 100%. And we'll put that next employee through that same training course so that you do get the value out of the training. At the end of the day, what we want to make sure is that you get this employee that's trained and providing value to your organization, so that you come back to us for the next knock tech, put them through the training as well, and start building that bench, start building that system. Even if you're still growing into it, you're building that system over and over again.
Yeah, I think that ties nicely as the final point into Gabe's statement about turning this into a system so that like these are legitimate, statistically significant risks. Employees will leave. I mean, they're humans. They should. They're not indentured to you. They will. They're going to find better jobs, and it's a good compliment to you as the business owner that they do find better jobs. That means you help them grow, and they've outgrown you. That's great. But if that's a legitimate risk that you need to realize, then you need a system to deal with it. You can't just hope to get lucky when something happens. And this sounds like a very reasonable system that takes almost no time off your plate, so you don't have to hope to get lucky. Right on. Okay, gentlemen, great to have you on this episode of Cyber Confidential. Fantastic meeting you in person last week in Florida. Wish we were still there. This has been a Cyber Confidential episode with Daryl Gleinser and Gabe Schrade from Total Seminars, talking about the growing pains of growing a small MSP. Right on, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.
We
Thanks,
appreciate
Mike. Bye, guys.
Enjoyed this episode? Hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe.